Welcome to Empirical Pea Pod. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. If you could, please subscribe, follow, share, like, comment, whatever the hell happens when we do these things. I'm your host, Tim Day. Let's get to the show. I like this. What are you doing to her hair?
It's like I'm going along her parts because like it's very relaxing for people to be doing that without raising.
Yeah. When I was a teenager, I had cornrows because I didn't understand cultural appropriation at the time. Because it was like 25 years ago. But it is awesome when people do that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. All right. I'm here with my cousin, Nafeesa.
Yep.
This is actually interesting and exciting because we've actually never even had a conversation before.
This is true.
We've seen each other at family events and whatever, and things of that nature, but we've never sat down and actually talked. So I'm excited to do this. There's you and I know there's reasons for stuff. I don't care about any of that right now. I want to talk about more important things. First off, let's talk about the elephant in the room. How many children are here?
6.
And they just love being around.
Yes. Yes, they do.
What's the age range?
So my oldest is 17. Then I have a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
That's crazy. Let's take it back before any of the kids. How old are you? Are you my age?
I'm 39.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're the same age. That's insane. So it's just you're creating a small army.
I am, but I'm done. So we're all good.
That's good. How did you end up there? Because let's take it back to, because most of these shows are all about like my friends and this group that's kind of come up together. Mm-hmm. And you're obviously an outsider who kind of quote unquote married in at the time. Where did you go to school at?
So I graduated high school from Wabanzi.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, my sister actually graduated with Jason.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's my brother. He graduated in '94. I would have gone there as well if we didn't move to Oswego.
Okay.
Well, until they opened Nicoa, I think.
Yeah.
I think we would have ended up at Nicoa. Did you go to college after high school then?
So I went to College DuPage for like a year and a half. I was still kind of undecided about what I wanted to do as far as a career path. I was working 2 jobs at the time and going to school full time. I met my ex, ended up getting pregnant, and that kind of stopped my education goals.
Took a new trajectory.
Yes. So things veered off in a different direction.
So what's interesting too is though, kind of like in a serendipitous way, when you said your sister graduated with my brother. Also, then years later, you had an ex that wrestled with him. Also, is
Yes.
that right?
Mm-hmm.
I only know little bits and pieces that I've heard from my sister, but because you did his tag team partner,
Yes.
which is hilarious.
It is.
That's just a time in our lives that I think we just want to gloss over.
Yeah.
It was fun while it lasted, but so you kind of stopped going to school then. Because I know recently you just graduated.
Yeah, recently I got my master's degree.
A master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
So over the last 20 years, did you just do that over the last few years, or has that kind of been a little bit here and there over the whole time?
So I got my master's. I went straight through full time. This was like around COVID, because I do work for the state. There's a lot of talk about potential layoffs, and so it just kind of got me worried because I had my bachelor's in sociology and English, and I was like, well, can't really find anything else in that field.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, might as well. So signed up. All right, I applied for a couple different schools, got accepted to DePaul University on a scholarship.
Nice.
And I have my bachelor's in public administration with a concentration in public management.
That's insane. So, because I remember watching the ceremony on your Facebook page and being like, wow, like, especially being in this house, like, my anxiety is peaked. Just because there's too much happening. I mean, your kids are amazing and they're well behaved and they're awesome, but I don't have any kids, so just being around them like is insane.
Yeah.
Like I like the bracelets this one's wearing.
Thank you.
What is it something you always wanted to do, is go back to school and finish, or was there a particular point where you're like, I have to do this?
I mean, I'm pretty secure with my employment, so going back to school was never at the forefront of my mind. It was just like, I was like, hey, might as well be a government worker until I retire. So I didn't really think about it. It was just more of like, that level of uncertainty during COVID.
Yeah.
And I was like, might as well, because that's when I started working from home. Mm-hmm. I went to, I did all my classes online. Yeah. So that just made things much easier. So
I like that you said much easier to be in a house with 6 children, trying to run that household, working from home, and going to school from home all full time.
Yeah.
Was it really easy?
I guess I'm used to the chaos.
Fair enough. That makes sense.
So yeah, just used to it.
What? Oh, you know what? I wanted to talk about too. If you're interested, we were talking about it before we went live here. You have a sign out front that has been damaged. It's not just a Black Lives Matter sign. It's a collection of Love is Love. We believe in science and all these things. What happened there?
So, just want to start off by saying I grew up in Aurora.
Right.
I've never really had issues growing up out here.
Yeah, Aurora's pretty, it's a pretty
diverse.
Yeah, surprising, it's really diverse.
Yeah, so last summer there was some kids that were just being unruly. Not my children.
Sure.
They were black kids. Yeah. I'm the only black mom on the street.
Yeah.
My neighbor across the street that, paraded his Trump flags was very adamant that my kids stole his American flag and threw it in the back of his truck.
Is it really stealing it if they just put it in his truck?
Placed it, whatever. So he assumed it was my children. He, at 5 a.m, caught on my Ring camera, pulled up my sign from my yard, and proceeded to beat my car with it and damage my windshield wipers.
I'm just curious, how somebody's brain goes from, they took my flag and put it in my truck, to I'm going to take this and then damage their car.
Yeah.
I just don't I don't see the line there.
Oh no, I don't either. Especially when it's you can clearly see my children's complexion and the child that actually did it, because my kids saw the kid that did it.
Yeah.
Way darker than my kids.
Right.
So it's just, it was just bad.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's insane to even think about that. We were talking before too, that's even a thing this day and age.
Oh yeah.
Especially I feel like I'm not it's not that I don't realize it exists. I never see it. I'm a middle-aged white man. I'm checking all the boxes here. I don't come across it. I was lucky enough to I grew up in a decently diverse family. My mom's side of the family, they had adopted a young black kid, and he grew up with everybody. And they one of the other ones had married a Hispanic gentleman. So it's I was always around mixed people. So it's weird to see other people, especially because my favorite thing about racism is that it's literally just based on the sun. That's it. It's not actually anything other than the melanin in your skin versus anybody else's, and where your ancestors are from.
Pretty much.
Which of course means one day there'll be one color. I can't wait to see all the racism. What are we going to move to next to hate each other about? It'll be dialect, the way we talk.
Oh yeah, probably.
But so you got your master's now. Is there a plan? Because you said you're pretty solid with your job at the state. Is it just it's just a feather in your hat, or do you think that eventually you'll evolve into something more?
Oh, I definitely want to either move up in my current agency, maybe venture on to different state agencies.
Well, your master's is it directly tied to that?
So with certain positions within I work for Department of Human Services. So certain positions, yeah, I would need, or they recommend having
Yeah.
a master's.
What does that mean on a state level to work in Department of Human?
Like exactly what my
Yeah.
job. So I deal with individuals that are applying for Medicaid, SNAP benefits,
Okay.
TANF. Work with other agencies on finding them resources. Um, I'm extremely grateful for my job because
Sure.
at one point I was on the other side.
Yeah.
I was the one that was applying for assistance. I was the one that needed help. And so my mom has always been like a huge make sure that you are able to take care of my mom was a stay-at-home mom, but at the same time, it was like a different time. Like,
Sure.
things weren't as expensive as they are now.
Yeah.
Families tend to be more solid back then.
Yeah, probably. I feel like tighter. Like families were more together, right?
So, and my mom was a huge advocate of, make sure you go back to work, make sure you have your own, like, don't fall into that trap of being reliant on
Yeah.
others. So, and that's, I think it was the recession of 2008. I had 2 little kids, and that's what pushed me to go back and get my bachelor's.
Yeah.
And so I went full time, double major, graduated with honors. I think I took a short break when I gave birth to my 3rd. I graduated pregnant with my 4th.
Jesus.
And a year later, that's when I got my job with the state. So, and it's like I've been like toying the idea with management, but with management positions, you need to have like 15 years seniority.
Right.
And whereas like there's positions that are above management, which doesn't make sense, to where it's like if you have this degree, if you have, if you interview correctly, if you
Right.
know how to articulate certain things, if you can motivate people, hey,
Yeah.
you can jump up to a, administrative level position. So that's,
Oh, so you just kind of skip right over management.
Yep.
That's awesome.
which is fine.
Yeah, sounds great. What did you always want to have a big family? Like, do you come from a big family?
Yes.
Do you have a lot of siblings?
Yes. So my mom has 6. My father, I want to say there's close to 10 or 11.
So you're definitely building an army.
Yes. And even my sisters that have kids, with my mom, like I want to say she's my mom's 2nd oldest. She has 6 kids herself. And on my dad's children previous to me being born, I think there's one of my sisters has like either 7 or 8 kids.
Wow.
So yeah.
That it just seems like I come from a relatively small family compared to that, but it was such a positive / horrible situation most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine being from that big of a family, but your mom seems amazing.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
just to even just to have that advice, because your mom was married to your dad, right, for a long time.
Yep.
And your dad's amazing. I've seen a lot of stuff on Facebook where you talk about him. So for her to even come from what seems like a healthy relationship, to still have that agency to be like, hey, take care of you, make sure you stand
Yep.
before you do all of this, it's just brilliant. Like, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, no, and I like now, like where I'm at now, I definitely get it. I mean, because I was a stay-at-home mom too for 7 years,
Yeah.
and then going back to school, and during that too, it's just I'm just grateful that I took those steps to put myself in a position to where I can be self-reliant.
Yeah. Which makes sense. I know your dad's no longer with us, which sucks. And that's another thing that always interests me, because my dad's gone also, and it was such a weight off my shoulders. Where it was like, I can breathe.
Oh yeah, no, I remember talking to your sister about that one time.
Yeah, exactly. But your dad seemed amazing.
Oh yeah.
And I'm always thrown off by like people that have healthy family lives or positive male role models in their lives.
Yeah.
Do you mind telling us a little bit about your dad?
So, like my dad, I mean, yeah, he like I hate talking about him in the past tense. Like he is amazing. Like when it came to like getting good grades, like he was like like I remember back in the day, they used to like print your names in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And, you know, my sisters and I were always on the honor roll, high honor roll. He would cut those clippings out, save every single one, every certificate. Like, he was like.
You just finished college with honors too, didn't you?
Yep.
Jesus.
So, I mean, like every single achievement, like he was there. Like he was like very present. And like he actually, because my dad was older, he retired when I was in middle school, I want to say. So it was like roles switched. So my mom went back to work because my dad was, you know, at home full time. And that's when like he's doing like the housework. He's taking us to and from appointments. Like it was like literally roles switched at that point.
Yeah.
And looking back on it now, like I appreciate that so much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it kind of gave me a skewed perception of how relationships work. And in my adult life, I'm like, wait. I'm like, my dad was like, you know, doing this stuff too. Like it should be like.
It's almost like it should be a partnership.
Yes.
Which I don't think, clearly none of us have seen that so far. All of our relationships have ended. So far we haven't seen the right thing yet. But, well, actually, I feel like you're probably doing a lot better now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's like, I've just become so accustomed to, like, I got to get this done. I got to do this. Like, I don't like asking for help.
Yeah.
Like, not that I hate it, I just don't. Like, because I don't like the, like, potentially being let down or just, like, potentially, oh, yeah, sure, I can do this. And then, you know, I just...
When people help you also, sometimes they feel like they have a say over your life then.
Exactly.
That's really annoying.
Yeah, I got a sister like that. It's like, ooh, I did A, B, C, and D.
Right.
Now you owe me.
Yeah.
But it's like I helped you out too just because you needed help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't stand that mentality of I'll do this because I'll get something out of it.
Yeah.
Which is... It goes back to the whole idea of like unconditional love and how it's like, is it real? Or are we looking for something, even if it's on a subconscious level, like we're getting something out of it, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's one of the biggest things that my dad, like I will carry that with me. Like I believe he like really taught me what unconditional love means. Because even, you know, we were all teenagers at one point. We did stupid stuff. I did my fair share of stupid stuff. I know I look all innocent and stuff.
You look like dignified and so graceful now.
I know, but yeah, I did some dumb stuff when I was a teenager. I'm not going to lie. And it's like every single time I messed up, it was like, I still love you. I don't approve of what you did.
Sure.
And I'm, you know, we need to separate that. What you did is not who you are.
Yeah.
And so every time I messed up, like I carry that with me, even to this day. So, because like I have days where I'm like, man, like I feel like I don't want to say failed as a mom, but yeah, like I had a pretty crappy mom day. I had a crappy work day, whatever the case may be. And it's just like, I'm, you know, taking steps just to like keep reminding myself of that. Because, you know, it's one thing when he was here and I could just call him up.
Yeah.
Like, and get a pep talk. We call them 101s.
Yeah.
Like he was notorious for them.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, yeah, I got to keep carrying that with me and pass it down to my kids, you know, because...
Do you guys have one-on-one 101s now?
Oh, I lecture my kids all the time. You can ask them.
Do you get them in a group at least, or do you do one at a time?
It depends on the situation. Sometimes it's a one-on-one lecture. Sometimes it's like a essay and a text message because...
Yeah, because some of them are in their teens now, out there doing dumb stuff, I presume. 3 of them, yeah.
Yeah, I got 3 teenagers.
That's half of them.
Yeah. And they're girls. So, yeah.
Does that make it worse?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, it does. Yes.
What's the difference?
Hormones. Boys.
Oh, yeah, they do have those still.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like, I mean, from what I've heard, I mean, who knows, my sons may just break the mold on that too. That boys are easy when they're younger and they mellow out as they get older.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, my girls, they were super easy.
Yeah.
I guess that's why I was like, oh, this is not that bad. Oh, this is not that bad. This is not that bad.
And everybody behind you was like, it's coming.
Yeah, and then it's like the preteen years hit and it's like, oh. And then the teen years hit and I'm like, oh. And it's like, yeah, I'm like, my mom used to always tell me too, be careful what you do because you're going to have kids and they'll be 10 times worse than you.
Yeah.
She was right.
Do you see it? So in the dumb stuff you did when you were a teenager, are you seeing that now?
Worse.
Really? Worse. Well, like they do have 2 codes of DNA, and I know what that teenage years looks like.
Yeah, and that's what I had to remind myself too. I'm like, wait. If my mom said they're 10 times worse than me, I totally forgot about the other side. So I'm just like, okay, I guess I'm getting some kind of karma on some kind of level, but
Yeah. How do you deal with that though? As far like, so I work in a junior high, so I talk to kids
God
all
bless you.
day. Thanks. But I've always had this ability because I still know what it's like to be a teenager. I don't consider myself an adult really. Like adults make me uncomfortable still.
okay.
Like authority figures in general. Like when I see the police, I'm like, ugh. Or when I see adults,
Well, I
I'm
do
like,
that too, but for a different reason though.
right. I feel like that's why I can always relate though as well. Is like that's why I always like comedians. Like a lot of times the stereotypical like comedian stuff is more about being poor and a second citizen rather than racial things.
Yeah.
Like there still is 100%, but like I get it. But how do you talk to them about these things? Like when you've already walked the walk.
Yeah.
How do you not explode? Because you don't want to just blow up or give them some sort of like ruin their mentality about it. But you also have to play mom.
Yeah. I mean, I'll admit, I've had my explosive moments because
Yeah.
like the level of just like,
We can try to keep them safe.
yeah, like the level of craziness that I'm just like, why would you do that? Like,
Right.
because a lot of time, and I try to like not fall into that, oh, well, my mom and my dad would have never, like, I try not to do that because I'm like, for one, I'm not my mom.
Yeah.
I'm not raising my kids in the same dynamic that I was raised in. Like
Right.
it was totally different.
Yeah.
And today's world is just way different.
I
Like,
think it's like obviously we have a skewed opinion because we're in this current world. Do you think it's easier or harder?
I think it's harder. Like with
It's harder?
social media, like
Yeah.
technology, like, because bullying in our day was different than bullying now.
That's true. They have 100% access to you now. All the
Exactly.
time, as opposed to being like, there's this one asshole in this one class. Now it's like, oh, I can get you all day.
Yeah. It's like
That
all
does-
it takes is like finding somebody at a stupid moment and then, goes on Snapchat and they get shared. And
Yeah.
like, I can't count how many times that's happened. That's why I tell, especially my daughters, I'm like, don't post anything that might
Yeah.
come back and bite you. Like, because you never know who's out there watching. Like,
Yeah.
everybody that smiles in your face is not your friend.
Right. It's hard to navigate that, and it's actually heartbreaking to watch. Like even in the junior high I work at, like a kid committed suicide this last year.
Oh, wow.
From cyberbullying, and it's insane to think of a 12-year-old being like, I'm done. I can't handle this anymore. Like,
Yeah, that's awful.
It's absurd, and even worse to think that on the flip side, there's a group of kids that are like, good.
I know,
Mission
right?
accomplished, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
it's insane to see that. So how do you go about then not blowing up and trying to teach a lesson or make that understanding?
A lot of lectures. A lot of lectures. Actually, I mean, and I'll even admit, like a lot of the explosiveness, I want to say, has been a learned behavior
Sure.
for me. I didn't grow up in an environment like that.
Yeah.
But it's just like I picked up on certain things.
Yeah.
Like
do you feel like with your past relationships and outside of your home dynamic, do you have more of a back against the wall
Yeah.
kind of dynamic?
Yeah, like it really turned into like if I don't do this, they're gonna get it 10 times worse from
Right.
like, and I hate drawing this analogy, but it is like the slave master, like, or not slave master, but it's like the slaves, the original reason why they started whooping their kids.
Right.
Like they would do that so the slave master wouldn't do it.
Right.
And I hate using that analogy.
Yeah,
Hate using it, but
for sure.
that's where my mind was. Like, well, if I blow up, then they're not going to get it from this other person.
Yeah. I've never thought about that in my life, which makes sense because I come from a very abusive house, but I would have never put those two things together for obvious reasons. But it makes so much sense to hear about.
Yeah. So.
So how do you then discipline 6 children and keeping stuff like that in mind?
Well, now things are way different.
Yeah.
Like I try to like reflect more on how I was feeling when I was 15, 16 years old. Because I think every teenager goes through that point where they're just like, nobody understands me.
Yeah.
My parents hate me.
Yeah.
I got one that's every other day, you hate me, you hate me. I'm just like, no, I just...
That's what's funny, because, too, I've said this a million times, and I hate to say it again, but that's why I love junior high. Because their kids are the age where they're just realizing adults are full of shit. And I love that. I love watching that and watching them try to... They don't know what to do with the information, but you can see as adults are talking to them, they're like, I don't think that's true.
Oh yeah, that's definitely my 13-year-old. She'll be in 8th grade, and I'm like, if this kid is like not like a CEO someday or an attorney, like, man, because she's gotten me a few times, and I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, you are, like, because my dad was the same way. I'm like, you are your grandfather's granddaughter, so.
Do you feel diffused? Like, you can be coming in guns blazing, and they'll make a point, and you're just like, God damn it, you're right.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, you know what? We're gonna come back to that. Like I need a minute for a rebuttal, but come back. I mean,
I'm still a mom, and you're still in trouble, but nice work.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because like my 13-year-old got in trouble. I forgot what it was for, she kept getting in trouble, and I'm like, why do you keep doing this stuff? Like, you get caught every time. It's like you kind of have a target on your back because they know, like, hey, if she, somebody comes to them and say, hey, she did this to me, they're automatically gonna believe the other kid because of your history.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, Dad used to brag about getting in trouble all the time, or used to brag about doing stupid stuff all the time, and he never got caught. So why can't I do the same thing? And I just sat there like, I'm like, I think this kid's on to, like, I mean, it's like, I get it, but no, like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like, that was her explanation. I'm just like,
it's a bad takeaway.
It really was. And I'm just like, I was speechless. I'm like, I don't even, because like, I was like, I did stupid stuff, I'm not going to lie. But like when it came to school, best behavior. Like I never got a detention in my entire school career, never late to class. I had perfect attendance. Like I was like nerd. Like outside of school, that's when I did my troublesome things. But
what does that even look like without getting into real detail? If you're kind of a perfect angel and honor student, I can't, like, because I've always just been even keeled of like a nice C student, and I feel like my life outside of school was, he looks like a C person. How do you balance that, and like, what does that look like getting in trouble as a teenager, but still being a perfect angel?
I mean,
I don't want to incriminate yourself.
Oh no, I mean, it's in the past, it's over and done with. I mean, I'll admit at a certain point, like I was boy crazy, and I let boys like just steer me in the wrong direction. So
they'll do that.
Yeah. I mean, there was a few times where it's like I just did not come home, and my parents were like,
as a teenager.
Yeah.
That's insane. I was talking to another friend of mine too, and she was telling me about her first time going to the city alone. She was 9, and her and her friend caught the train to go to the city.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, could you imagine just sending your 2 youngest to the city?
Oh God.
On a train?
No. Like, no. Like,
yeah.
I'm still iffy about taking the train sometimes. Like, it's like someone has to be with me if I get on the train because I don't pay attention to the stops.
Yeah. The train makes me uncomfortable too, the way it swings.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great form of travel.
Oh yeah.
And it's convenient, but it, like, especially if I have to sit and watch the other car where it's like shaking, I'm like, I'm not comfortable with this.
Oh yeah, no. I think a couple of weeks ago, my girlfriend and I, we went out to downtown Chicago just to blow off steam and just walk around downtown, go to Navy Pier, just chill.
Nice.
And we took the train, and then we made it a point that we're like, okay, we're gonna come back at 10:40. Yeah, we missed that train because we got stuck on a bus.
Yep.
The bus driver just had to take a smoke break.
In the middle of his shift, eh?
Yeah. She just stops and I'm like, this is Chicago.
Yeah, I was like, Chicago different.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She literally stopped and just got out and smoked her cigarette. And we're just sitting there like, should we just get off? And she's like, no, we have to get to the train. And I'm just like, we're going to miss our train. And so we got back there, like we missed it by like 5 minutes. So we're literally, and the next train was 2 hours later.
I say the last train's at what, midnight or after?
12:40.
12:40.
Yes, we literally walked around downtown Chicago for 2 hours. Try to sit in the train station. They're like, "Oh no, you got to leave," and we're just like,
"Yeah."
Like, well, just make for a good story.
I've slept in that train station. It's gross.
Oh yeah. I'm like,
The train's not as bad as the L though. Like the L makes me uncomfortable, just because I don't care what time you go there or when or where or what stop, some weirdo's gonna be right by you, and they're gonna be uncomfortable.
oh yeah, no, it was like that in the bus. Like there was like at least
The bus is probably similar to the L.
3 drunk people. Like they stood up mid-ride and just fell flat on their faces, and and then like one of them, like a bottle of Jameson just like flew out of their pocket. Or like that explains that. You're like, all right.
Yeah, I mean I've been that guy. Only on the train though, because you can drink on the train, which helps.
Oh yeah, like there's like all these young kids like just with their White Claws, and I'm just like, geez.
Is that still a thing? Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, someone said like White Claw tastes like downtown Naperville, and I see it, and that because I've only had White Claw once. Yeah. That was enough for me. I was like, this is a thing. Like this is.
Yeah.
Tastes like static.
I think it's more. It feels like it's more of a look at me than a this is delicious thing, which I don't understand.
Yeah, because it's awful. It's just awful.
So then let's move forward to. Now you've got your master's degree, you've got your job, you've got even a plan. Where does that take you next? Aside from like moving up, skipping the middle management and going right to the top, which is always the best way to go.
Oh yeah, of course.
What are you looking for out of life next?
Enjoying my life.
Yeah, is that do you feel like that's a new concept?
Yes, definitely.
Does it feel like because even for me personally, like you can go back. I go back to my childhood and be like, oh, certain things were awesome and amazing, and it felt good. And then like there's this long period of just clouds.
Yeah.
And then more recently, where it's like, oh, maybe this is what happiness looks like. Because I can't think of a time when I've seen it and been like, could identify it. Do you feel like that's kind of where you're at now? Is like, oh, like the clouds are starting to part.
Yeah, like for sure, especially with like the last maybe like 6 months.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, you see my posts on Facebook. Like, I mean,
my favorite thing in the world is watching people when the lights come back on in people.
Oh yeah.
When the lights have been off for so long, and like, you can see it online. That's why I hit you up immediately. It was like, oh, we should try to do an episode. Just because I can see it through the internet that the lights are back on, and it's amazing to see from so far away digitally. Let's have a conversation about it. And like I used to do trauma recovery also.
Okay.
Where we would hypnotize people and work through various issues and stuff. And it's the same thing where you can see where the lights come back on, and you're like, there's something in there, and it's beautiful. Yeah. And I absolutely love that. So that's kind of where you feel like you're coming to.
Yes. Like getting back to pouring back into me. Like I've literally poured into everybody for the past, I mean, how old is my oldest? 17 years. I'll say even 18 years. Like just constantly pouring into everybody else, taking care of everybody else, worrying about
probably even
else.
Farther back. If you're talking boy crazy, then you probably even going back to being a teenager, pouring way too much into relationships that weren't going to last.
Exactly. Like always worrying about making somebody else feel good and like neglecting myself.
Right.
And so now it's like, and I will, like I want to give like the most credit for that, like the people that didn't think I could do that. And not just like ha ha ha, I told you I could do this.
Right.
But it's just like, it's like, thanks for, just like, for one, showing me your true colors.
Right.
And I'm talking about like some family, for me too. You know, like I've had family like very recently. I've like, I don't want to say I cut them off, but it's just like the negativity I can't deal with.
So you probably dealt with, because stereotypically, it's easy to write people off once they have kids. And then because you have so many of them, it's like, if Nafeesa's done, this is it. For her, is just raising those kids and hoping for the best. There's no life outside of that. Which is absurd in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
But, geez, so hurtful. Like, why would you?
Yeah.
Like, even if you think that, what are you getting out of telling it to me?
Exactly. And it's like here I am, 6 kids, and like I literally make it a point to like make time for myself, like do stuff for myself. Like I, make time for my kids obviously too.
Sure.
Like it's all about balance.
Yeah, one of the things, because I've dated a couple of girls with a kid.
Not 6. Come on now.
And I've always it's different, and because I've been adamant about this point because I have other friends that complain about things, and I'm like, look, if you can't handle being number 4 on this girl's list, don't talk to her.
Oh yeah.
Because she's got to put herself first. She's got to put that job second because the job takes care of the kids. And then those kids are always going to be above you. If you can't handle being 4th, do not talk to her because she doesn't have time for you or your bullshit.
Pretty much. And and it's like, and I don't know, I mean, like this is like extremely personal, in my like crazy post-divorce, separation, dating life, like there's some people that are like fine with it. They're like, yeah, no, it's cool. Like, I mean, I actually dated a guy super briefly because he had 5 kids, 3 baby mamas, wanted me to be number 4th, and I'm like, nope.
Talk about an army.
And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you can go look for your 4th elsewhere because that ain't me. Like he was younger than me too, and I'm just like, yeah, that's just weird.
That's crazy to think about too. Do you think? Because, like I said, I've dated people with a child, but also where I was at that time was very different. So I feel like I'm way better prepared to handle it now, where I'm emotionally available. At that time, I wasn't. I loved what was happening. I loved the children. I loved their mother and stuff like that. But I didn't know what that meant because I come from where I come from. Yeah. And my biological father was horrible. So it's like, I don't know what's okay and what's not okay. And I think that's probably why I'm good at feeling like a teenager still, because I'm still like, I'm trying to navigate it myself. Yeah. But I don't know, this is something I've always wrestled with. What if could I realistically date somebody with multiple kids? Like, one is one thing, but like now when you talk about, like, that guy had 5 from 3 different mothers. That just sounds like a headache. Like, I get it. We're all where we are. Like, and we're all, in our 40s at this point. Like,
ooh. Let me enjoy this last year before we jump the gun on that.
Yeah, I mean, you still look like you're in your early 30s. Like,
well, thank you. Yeah, I'll take it.
If I shaved, I'll look like I'm 12. So, but I don't know how. Would you date somebody that had multiple kids like that? Was it like because you come from the same thing? Is it just a non-thought, or were you like, what's that going to look like realistically?
Yeah, that's kind of why like I cut things off, because I'm just like, for me it was more of like, okay, I have 6 kids, I'm good. I do not need to add any more. Like I am like that was the biggest thing. Is like, oh well, maybe you and I, and this was like super early into like him and I talking.
He's like, we should have our own.
And I'm just like, you are crazy. Yeah. Like, dude, you already have 5. I have 6. That's 11 right there. And you had to add a no, we're good.
What's the appeal there? I don't even understand. To me, it feels like it's got to be just arrogance of legacy at that point, where it's
I can see that.
Because if I do date a girl that has a kid, I'm content. Because she has a real dad. I'm plugged into where I'm plugged into. Yeah. And that's awesome. I would consider her like my own within those healthy boundaries. Yeah. It would never cross my mind to be like, we have to have our own now. Like, 'cause I have to have my DNA in this equation somehow. And I just like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either. And it's like, where I come from, and it's pretty interesting that you mentioned the whole DNA aspect. Like, from where I grew up to what I've been through to where I'm at now, like, I can say and like truly recognize like DNA does not dictate, any kind of familial bond. Right. And, and I think that my kids are starting to recognize that too. Like, I think as my 11-year-old and my 9-year-old, they were actually having a debate about that. Really? Like, about, does blood really make you family? Or, because like I have like my best friend, like we've known each other for 10 years, and like I do call her my sister. That's just how close we are. Like I have a closer relationship with her than I do with most of my sisters.
Right.
And even when it comes to, you know, my actual biological sister, it's just like sometimes like the way that she just treats me and my kids, it's just like, and you know, and like it's always the ones that like to throw family in the equation. Oh, we're family.
Yeah.
Just because we're family does not mean I need to associate with you.
Right. Which is hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like I understand to an extent just because of what I've done, you know, like Sarah's told you a bunch as well, like when we severed ties with our dad before, a few years before he passed away. When it's like, you just hit a point where it's like, I don't need to do this.
Yeah, like toxic is toxic. I don't care if you're my cousin, uncle, sister, whatever.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, you know, a detriment to my mental health, I don't need to associate with you. Right. And like I will go heavy on that with my kids.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also always reminded of a Tupac quote when he was like, "Just because we're not friends doesn't mean you're my enemy." Like,
oh yeah, yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he's like, you know, I want you to eat, just not at my table.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And that's, I mean, well, certain people.
Some people can just be trash. It's okay.
Yeah. And they are who they are, so
right. There you go.
They can just stay where they are and just stay out of my way. Like, yeah, you just hang out over there and leave me alone.
Yeah. Even that, like, that idea I was kind of raised with too, because technically Jason is my stepbrother because he has a different mom.
Okay. Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So Sarah and I are
from Sandy.
Yeah,
okay.
And then he has a different mom. We just share a father, and he was always around. And my mom is his mom.
Okay.
So it's the same thing where it's like, yeah, family is family, whatever you decide you want to define it as.
Yeah.
But I don't understand, like, why, because you hear you talk, it's almost like you're like the black sheep of the family to an extent. I don't know how. Like, how does that make sense? Because you seem close to your mom, close to your dad.
Yep.
And it seemed like a positive environment. But maybe that's the trigger? Did the rest of the family not feel that?
Like, I feel like we were raised all under like the same values, same beliefs, and it's just that I'm not sure if like
that different.
Oh yeah, everybody interprets it different.
Sure.
And I just, you know, like I'm not sure if like losing my dad basically triggered some extreme ways of viewing family, and it's like we have to stick together.
Yeah.
Like actually had an incident happen on the 4th of July. Like it was pretty explosive. Like
really?
Yeah, like I was pretty much dragged through the mud about my parenting style, and you know, like
does your parenting style differ?
Like the way that I look at, like, so my mom's oldest, she has 4 kids. Her kids are all adults. You know, they all work. They're all well-rounded. You know, they have rough teenage years, but you know, I consider like they're a product of their environment type situation.
Sure. Right.
So, and then I have the sister next to that. She has 6 daughters, and she I think 4 of hers are adults, and then she has like 3 are like really little. My other sister has 1. And then the one above me has 3. The one below me has 3. So the younger one, that's the one that got explosive and just decided to drag my name through the mud while my kids were in the room, I might add. So my kids come to me upset, like, why is she talking about you? Like, that's not right. Basically, she's always had something negative to say about my parenting, about my life in general. I don't put much into it because I'm just like, that's a reflection off of you. Maybe you're not happy.
Right.
Like, so I'm just not going to feed into it.
Yeah.
But when it does get to my kids and makes my kids feel some type of way, like, you're going to poke mama bear. And you don't want to do that.
Right.
So, you know, things came to a head. You know, like my oldest did not invite her to her birthday dinner because this sister is extremely judgmental. She has made fun of her teenage friends at previous birthday parties. My daughter's just like, I don't want to deal with any negativity. It's my birthday. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, you are like fully entitled to invite who you want to invite. You don't have to invite everybody. Like, I'm not pushing this. You have to invite, you know, everybody because that's your family. Like, yeah, I've learned a hard lesson with that, because especially dealing with their dad, because he pretty much writes off the oldest and my second oldest. Like, yeah, whole other story. But
that's a different episode.
Yeah, pretty much. So she was still upset about that, and she was just like, and I'm like, she's 17. Ask her. You have her number. Ask her why she did not want to invite you. And she's like, well, no. As her mom, you need to, like, you should have forced her, and you need to explain.
This is a reflection of what those kids are going through.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not going to force my kids that are almost adults to do certain things.
Yeah.
Like, I want my kids to think for themselves.
Sure.
And if she's stating, I don't feel comfortable because my aunt is always making judgmental comments, whether it's about my daughter, her hair is like 3 different colors right now. Mm-hmm. She makes comments about her hair, about how she dresses. I'm like, she's expressing herself.
Yeah.
I mean, like, hey, like, I didn't have the guts to do that stuff.
I've got a mohawk. I'm still acting like I'm 15.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's hair. Like, she can dye it back. It'll grow back. She's chopped her hair off, whatever. And so, like, she just basically, blew up 4th of July. Ended up having a sit-down conversation with all the sisters, which totally went left field.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was just in a space where I'm like, I'm not even going to respond. Because, like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And my sisters know about my previous relationship. Like, they don't know the extent of, like, certain things that happened.
Sure.
And I had to bring it up. Because I'm like, I've literally dealt with this kind of treatment for, nearly half my life.
Right.
And I'll be damned if I'm going to sit here and put up with it.
From family?
Yeah.
I want to talk about something, or at least maybe you 100% put the kibosh on it if you don't. But I'm staggering because it's awkward to even bring up.
Okay.
And it's not my place to bring up, but if we don't talk about things, you don't learn things. Mm-hmm. So if it's a no-go, set boundaries, or if I misspeak, please correct.
Okay.
I'm curious if some of that, because you mentioned earlier your kids are very light complected. Mm-hmm. Do they get treated different because of that? I've heard experiences from other people where it almost feels like you have nowhere to be because you're not black enough, you're not white enough, and these kinds of things. Does it feel like that from the family? Or do you think it's just something different altogether?
I think it's just something different altogether. Okay. I mean, my family's pretty diverse, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint because, like,
I'm sure they're dealing with that in school and in their lives in general.
Yeah, they do deal with that at school. It's like you're not all black, but you're not all white. It's like you're not. I mean, but it's like they do identify more as black.
Sure.
And like, this is just my observation. Like,
you think it's closer because they're closer to you?
Yeah, closer to me, closer to my family too. Right.
Also, what a better culture. It's so boring being white.
And just like, certain experiences that they've expressed, that they've dealt with their other side of the family, just like, I mean, like, I guess, like, when it comes to certain things, like, my family takes a different approach in addressing certain things.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, it's just, on the other side, it's just flat out negativity. And, like, especially with, I don't know how to word this. I don't know how to word. Okay, so it's like, my kids, they have more black friends. Mm-hmm. They tend to pick up on, how they speak.
Sure.
Dress, music, whatever.
Yeah.
And, their father is white. Mm-hmm. And, he will make comments, you're not, I mean, how he dresses, speaks, music he listens to.
Sure.
He'll make comments, well, you're not being raised to be this way. But then it's like...
That's actually mind-blowing to hear that. Because
isn't
I'm like, who are you really talking to?
Yeah, isn't it though? Because a few times it caught me off guard, and I'm just like,
yeah.
I'm like, is this the same person that claims that they were GD at one point?
Yeah, talk about appropriation.
Yep, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, that's pretty staggering, actually, to even think that that's a thing.
Oh yeah, but it's just, and I'm just like, it's boggling to me because I'm just like, yeah, like my dad was very strict about, I couldn't listen to rap. We had to watch the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Awesome show. But, like we were raised in a very specific, going against stereotype type ways. You know what I mean? So, and it's just like, I don't want to say to end up with who I ended up with. Kind of just went completely against the grain.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like, okay, like I know how I conduct myself around my kids. I remind them of those things, like, like being black is just not this.
Right.
And I try to tell him that, like, hey, like, it's not all about gangster rap. And
we can't boil down an entire culture and human being, group into these couple of things.
Exactly.
They all like hip hop, and that's black culture.
Yeah,
Surprise.
I'm like, there's so much more to that, and I'm extremely appreciative. Like, I've been spending a lot more time like in Chicago, just like exploring that diversity in Chicago, like falling in love with that city more and more every time I go out there. Like, my boyfriend actually took me to Hyde Park.
Nice.
And I'm just like, I was like in a whole other planet. I'm like, man, like, you got to bring me back over here. Like, we were there for like the Prince sip and paint for my birthday.
That sounds amazing.
It was.
Yeah.
Like, he got super brownie points for that. Because I'm like, because it was on my actual birthday, because Prince's birthday is June 7th.
Right.
But I'm like, my actual birthday, a Prince sip and paint with a live band playing Prince.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I feel like it helps too because, like, I feel like when we were younger, the city was almost vilified to us. Mm-hmm. So as we've gotten older and hung out there, we're like, oh, it's actually amazing out here. Like, yeah, these stories exist in Chicago, but there's some pretty amazing stuff out here.
Oh yeah. I mean, yesterday we went to the Tacos and Tamales Fest.
Nice.
Didn't buy anything. We just walked around. It was so crowded.
Yeah.
And because it was in Pilsen, and he was expressing. My boyfriend's mixed, by the way, so his mom is black, his dad's white, and he was talking about. He's like, back in the day, I couldn't even walk down the street without people eyeing me or something happening to me because it was just like that bad of an area.
Right.
So it was just because there are still people out there.
Now we've done it.
But yeah, I mean, we were walking down the street, and there was like a group of people that were like, you could tell they were just looking out for. I don't want to say suspicious activity or just looking out for somebody, but you could tell it was a little intimidating for me. I'm just like yeah, I know that they're not up to any good. I'm like, can we walk a little faster? Like, I had like my cute shoes on, and I'm like, yeah, can we walk a little? And then like it was raining, we were walking back. Same guys were still out there just waiting, and I'm just like, yeah, this is a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's a little sketchy.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, super diverse crowd, but it was just like still, you could like tell, he's like, they don't, like certain people still don't play when it comes to like their territory and their area. Life with boys, I swear.
Sometimes boys fart.
All the time. Not just sometimes.
Wait, you don't know what I'm asking?
Of course I do. I can see into the future.
I just got that ESP. So actually bringing up the Cosby Show is interesting because I'm always gathering people's opinions about how do we get past like certain things, and are we still allowed to enjoy things that exist?
Okay.
Like, so because the Cosby Show is amazing and an absolute pioneer and kind of set the standard for specific things. Are we allowed to still enjoy it now?
I mean, I get it. Like, it's a little tarnished. Okay, very tarnished.
That's what I wonder, though. Is it still, can it stay just what it is in its time? Or is it now tarnished? Because now we know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, I still take it as, like, entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
Like, I'll like, if I see a clip pop up on Facebook, I'll still watch it. I'll laugh. Like, oh, I remember this episode.
Yeah.
Like I remember... Camila, can you go see what's wrong with him? or take him outside. Give him some fresh air.
He sounds like he needs some air.
Yes. Hey, I get like that sometimes if I don't get air.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm a heavy advocate of going on walks. Like the other night, I was just so steamed.
Yeah.
I just went for a walk until I calmed down.
Smart.
Yeah.
It's good to be able to even recognize that and just be like, I just gotta go.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me right now.
Oh yeah, no,
I'll
I
be
mean,
back.
and it's like, I look at it too, like, it's like my kids have been through so much of just like that blowing up stuff in their short lives. And I'm just like, yeah, I need to take responsibility for how I feel and react or don't react to, you know, whatever situation. So I'm like, if I feel like I'm like extremely upset, yeah, I'm just going to go for a walk or I'm just going to sit in my car, listen to music, like anxiety clean, whatever.
Yeah. Do you think, so even like, so the Cosby Show is one thing, like, I still love Michael Jackson so much.
Oh, I do too.
Like, I watched Thriller and, what's the other one where I always forget the name of it. Smooth Criminal?
Yes.
Man. You know, I was thinking too, like, remember the old days too, like, he made these very short films about his videos.
Yep.
And it was amazing when they would debut. It was like a big deal.
I know.
And I don't even really see music videos anymore except for on YouTube.
I know. Like,
it's a shame.
I know.
But I agree because I think there has to be people like that probably won't get a redemption. Like, cause I'm always bringing up Mike Tyson, especially in this day and age where we live in this woke culture, where accusations will end your career and the truth doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Somebody like Mike Tyson who literally went to jail for rape.
Yeah.
And now he's like America's treasure because he's hilarious, right?
Sure. Sure.
At least stereotypically, he is. Like, he's in the limelight. People love him. So, and I'm just curious, like, is that it? He went to jail, so he gets a wash? It still seems a little grimy, right?
It does. I mean, yeah, and I have an extremely biased opinion about, like, those types of allegations in general. So I'm just like, it's a no for me. Like, it's a no. It's a flat out no.
So that's a good segue. How, in this environment, how do you find self-care, and what does that look like?
Escaping.
Yeah, taking your walks.
Escaping.
So recently, getting out a lot more recently. What about all these children? How do they self-care?
I don't. I mean, I encourage them, especially like during the summer months. When I was a kid, I was outside like all the time.
I feel like we didn't have a choice back then.
Yeah, it was like, just leave.
Yeah,
like, you know,
as long as the sun's out, go away.
Pretty much. Like, and it's like, even with us, I mean, there's a lot of kids that I grew up with too. And, you know, even when the street lights came on, like, oh, you need to go back in when the street lights come on.
Right.
We still snuck back out.
Sure.
Like, we were still, like, you know, because my dad was like normally passed out on the couch. Mom was at work. She worked overnights. And so my sisters and I were like, shoot, Dad's asleep. Let's go back out and, like, you know, ride bikes or whatever.
Yeah.
So I tried, like, you know, I try to encourage them, like, hey, like, my kids, like, there's kids over here similar, like, you know, similar age groups, kids over here similar age. Go play. Go to the park. Be outside. Like, enjoy being a kid. Like, I hate that a lot of, like, especially with the older ones, a lot of their time is being consumed by social media and, like, literally sitting on the phone all day. And so that's like...
You hear, like, 3 phones running this whole time.
Yeah. So I'm just like, you know, even with the older ones, I'm just like, just go for a walk. Just sit at the park.
Yeah.
Like, hang out with your siblings. Like, read a book. I don't know.
How is it not just a constant fight? Like, do the kids fight each other? It looks like it could be violent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is. It is. Like, it's literally like a war zone sometimes. I mean, some days are better than others.
Sure.
A lot of it, like, I just try to remind them, like, you know, a lot of it is small stuff, like, not to get worked up about. And I know that they're trying to, like they've been through their fair share of stuff, and they're trying, like...
Right, they've all got their triggers and their...
Yeah. And then a lot of it is
stuff like that.
Is unlearning behaviors that they saw growing up.
Right.
like, you know,
Yeah, I
hitting
think-
walls
yeah.
and throwing things and hitting each other. That's a lot of stuff that they
Right.
need to unlearn.
Yeah, because I grew up where I grew up, I don't have it in me to physically discipline anybody.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anybody should be putting their hands on anybody else. But how do you unlearn that?
Do you have any tips? I'm open. Like, my older 3 are in therapy.
Yeah.
I'm looking into like some kind of family therapy for everybody as a whole.
Yeah.
Um,
I can just imagine like 7 of you being in one room and it just taking like 6 hours to get through everybody's grievances.
oh God. I mean, we actually were forced twice to attempt family therapy, and it was just a nightmare.
Forced?
Yeah, through the course. It was a nightmare.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. So that's why I said, like, maybe just me and the kids should just.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Oh, like a family thing before? Yeah.
Yeah. It was mandated by the courts, and like 2 therapists quit after the first session. They were just like, yeah, don't schedule again.
Yeah. I thought you meant they quit being a psychiatrist or psychologist.
I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised.
they're like, you know what? If this is out there, I'm done.
Yeah, after those like initial sessions of just like, oh, what are you here for? And then it's just like, you know, nuclear bomb gets dropped. Like one of them was just like, yeah, I'm not going to schedule any more sessions. I was like, thanks,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, I don't know. Freud always said that the Irish are immune to therapy, so we're an annoying bunch.
I will keep my opinion to myself.
The good news is, like we've already mentioned, the lights are back on. You've done amazing things, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk to you. Is like, there's so many of us out there with plans or blueprints, and a million excuses, or even not even excuses, just like, how do I? And then here's a stereotypical situation where you should be content where you are, quote unquote, should be, and you've done enough already to coast. And you're like, no, I'm going to still get my master's. I'm going to continue to move up. I'm going to continue to do all these things. I'm not afraid to be out on my own. I'm not afraid to start back over because I'm worth it. And I think that that's an amazingly inspiring story. So thank you so much for talking to me, letting me come over here. It has been a deterrent for me to ever want children still.
Smart.
But it's awesome to see your lovely family. It's amazing to actually get to talk to you after we've been family for like 20 years.
I know, right?
But yeah, let's call it there. You're going higher and done amazing things and continue to achieve. And that's amazing. Awesome.